Hello, and welcome to the GrowVC Everyone Funding Startups podcast. I'm your new host, Ryan Williams. In this episode, we'll be talking about taking the plunge from the corporate world to the world of startups. And for those of you already annoyed with my voice, worry not, because today we'll be joined by a familiar guest. He's a GrowVC business development consultant, director of operations at Krossover Intelligence, and the former host of the show. Please welcome back to the show, Brett Bivens. Welcome back, Brett.
Ryan, thanks a lot. Yeah, really glad to be on the show and be turning over the reins to you. I think it's, an exciting thing to be working on, and I'm sure you'll do great with it. So it's great to be on the first episode with you here.
Well, that makes one of us, Brett. I appreciate your vote of confidence.
Yeah, no worries, man. You'll be fine. So I think it'd be great for all the listeners of the podcast to get a little bit of an introduction to you and maybe your background so that they know going forward kind of what your perspective on things is.
Sure, of course. So I come from a background of kind of law and business. I'm in my last semester of law school at NYU. I'm a leadership in law and business scholar here, which means I get the great fortune of taking classes at both the School of Law and the Great Stern School of Business. Just kind of broaden my perspective and not get pigeonholed as simply a lawyer who gets in the way of everyone else's deal making.
Right.
And my interest in entrepreneurship and startups kind of developed over time from an interest that began with social entrepreneurship. That being, at least in my view, kind of the application of business principles and revenue generating models to solve traditional social problems. I got really involved with that. I'm the executive director of the Law and Social Entrepreneurship Association at NYU. And from there, I started to kind of develop a wider perspective of social innovation and saw that was taking place within companies and technologies that are traditionally purely seen as for-profit enterprises. As far as my legal career, I will be beginning as a capital markets associate at the New York office of a large international law firm this fall. So trying to combine all these passions, social entrepreneurship, startups, my professional interest in capital markets. I've really been kind of engaged in the recent developments in crowdfunding and sort of innovations in the financing of startup enterprises. So that's kind of what brought me to GrowVC and why I have the great fortune of hosting this show with you here today.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I think that's great that you have a strong background both in law and business, because as we've seen, especially in the United States, the legal side of things is just an integral part of getting the crowdfunding ecosystem to actually work. So apart from the business side, which is the startups and everything like that, the legal side is also very important right now.
Well, I like to think so, and it makes me feel a little bit better about my student loans that you agree with me. Well, on that note, why don't we jump right into the topic at hand today, and that is kind of a discussion of your path from the corporate world, specifically in finance, to kind of your new position at Krossover Intelligence, being the director of operations at a startup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't we begin a little bit by having you describe for us your background, your professional background in finance?
Sure. So after graduating college, I entered a banking kind of training program in Chicago, and was there for about a year and a half, 2 years. Over the course of that time, I went through the program, became an analyst. Kind of decided to go that route because I've always had an interest in finance, still do. And during that time, I learned a lot, met some great people, worked with some incredibly smart people. But just kind of came to realize that, at this time in my life, working in a corporate setting with, a huge company like that was not for me. And, I could see kind of the way that my career was going to go, how it was laid out in front of me. And, for a lot of people that would be great. But for me, I kind of wanted to, take a jump and do something that really interested me. So, about a year into my stint at the bank, I started looking around for different things I could get involved in, different things I could do. One of the things that really stuck out to me, again, just because of my interest in finance, was the crowdfunding or the alternative finance path. And so looking around, I found out about GrowVC, got in touch with everybody at GrowVC and decided to, help out where I could, work in a kind of a business development type role in Chicago, meaning going to networking events, trying to build up partnerships for the company, that kind of thing, just kind of grow the awareness of it. And then Marcus, our CEO, eventually asked me to host the podcast, which was, a great experience for me.
And you mentioned, Brett, that it was kind of just a time in your life where you saw the transition as making sense. We've heard a lot about kind of, the way in which the economy and how that's been going on since 2007, 2008 has kind of spurred some innovation, or at least forced individuals to think a little more creatively about the profession. Did the economic situation have any impact on your timing of your decision?
Not necessarily the timing, but yeah, I mean, it didn't have a huge decision. Maybe it had a little bit of an impact on me coming out of college into the professional world, where I had this great job opportunity and didn't want to maybe take any unnecessary risks because of the difficulty that I saw with my peers finding jobs. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I was able to find something was something that I was kind of settled on. So if that whole situation wouldn't have been there, maybe I would have been a little bit more willing to take an entrepreneurial or a leap into a position where I'm working with an early stage company.
Right. And speaking of which, maybe you can touch a little bit about Krossover Intelligence, what it is you do there, when you joined, and kind of what your role is with the startup.
Sure. So I am the director of operations, with Krossover Intelligence. What we do is, we have customers from across the country, high school basketball, lacrosse, and eventually football coaches. So high school and college for all three of those sports. And, they subscribe to Krossover. They will send us their film, and we'll use our proprietary, indexing system to look at all the events throughout the course of the game and give the coach a statistical breakdown of everything that happened over the course of the event. So instead of them, spending 6-8 hours breaking down a film, trying to get all the notes and everything for that, they send the film to us, upload it within a day. We get the film back to them, and it makes their life a lot easier and gives them a lot more information than they would get on their own, that they can use to help their team, help their programs, and hopefully win more games. So that's what the company does. In terms of what I do, we have an office in India with a development team and some other staff that I am kind of in charge of running and making sure that goes smoothly, and working kind of as a bridge between our operations in the U.S. and our operations here.
So for some of our listeners at home, that probably sounds like quite the leap. College educated, living in a cozy apartment in Chicago with a nice job in the corporate banking world, to now living in Bangalore, India.
Yeah.
Is it quite the plunge? Is it quite the leap of faith, the risk-prone leap of faith that these transitions are always characterized as?
I think to a lot of people, maybe my family and my friends and some people that I knew, the people that I, used to work with, it probably seemed like a pretty extreme plunge. But in terms of, my mindset going into it, it was definitely a calculated process. I kind of, about a year into my job at the bank, I realized that it wasn't for me, and I wanted to kind of find a way to learn about the startup world and learn about some things that were actually interesting to me. And so that's when I got involved with GrowVC, and through, hosting the podcast and meeting the people there, I, really came to realize that what I wanted to do was work for, a young company that is, doing very, very, interesting things that I really believe in. That goes for GrowVC, that goes definitely for what we do at Krossover. And so I got to, meet a bunch of people from around the world, and I, again, realized that I wanted to do something that I believed in and wanted to have kind of an international career. And I saw all these interesting things going on, talking to people in South America, in Europe, in Africa, and then India as well. And, so the opportunity to come here was, certainly a bit of a plunge, I guess, but it was calculated in the sense that, this is kind of the way that I want to take my career. So risky